there, I'm Jules. Nice to see you. The word of the day today is control. You know, like, my life is completely out of control. If you'd like to know why control is the word of the day, watch my next video and then read the description to find out. Hey babes, today we're actually going to start Seduce Me 2. So I kind of cut the episode short last time because I wanted to have its own episode. So we can just start. I started it and I was like, no, I should make it its own video. So let's do it. Seduce Me 2, the Demon War. Choose your demon. I assume Eric is red, so I'm gonna choose Eric.
Hold on there! Before you start the game, I need to ask you a few things. Don't want you getting lost now.
Okay.
First of all, have you read the first story, Seduce Me the Otome? Like, seriously read it. No skimming, no pretending to read it. No. It's okay if you haven't, but there are a lot of things in this game that you won't understand unless you fully experienced and understood that story first.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Next question. You do know this is Eric's route, right? You know, the second oldest incubus that calls you princess and is seductive and stuff.
Yep, I know.
Oh, awesome! Alright then. Eric's a nice guy once you see under his Playboy mask.
Why do her shoulders look like boobs? They do. I mean, that's a boob, if I've ever seen one. So is that. I've seen them.
Anyway, I have one last question for you. Some people like hearing the trigger warnings before they start games, while others don't really care and just want to play. It's cool either way, but do you want to know about some of the content listed in the game?
Yes.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Well, this game is recommended for players ages 18 and up. Trigger warnings include suicide, war, torture, mentions of rape, and a large amount of violence and sexual content.
Jesus. Well, trigger warning. Geez, some of that I would not even watch if I was by myself, but we're together, so it's okay. I'll be fine.
Don't worry though. Any sex scene choice you encounter is completely up to you. You can play this game without needing to go through the sex scenes and still get the good endings. Consent is important.
Okay.
I think that should be everything. All right. Phew, that took a while.
There's sex scenes. What?
You forgot something.
Oh.
Huh? What did I forget?
She got side boob going on here? What's that about? Okay.
You forgot about the disclaimer.
Oh, crap! Oh, how could I have forgotten about that?
It's fine, I'll take care of it. This game was produced by Michaela Laws using the Ren'Py visual novel engine. We truly hope you enjoy this story.
Thanks, Diana. Now, don't you have a war to go fight?
I do. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order before the story began. I'll take my leave now.
Bye.
Thanks, Di.
Thanks, Di.
Do not call me Di.
Anyway, we really do hope you like the story. Have fun. See you at the end.
See ya. I did. I did think it was over. Okay, not even close. What would you do if you were taken from the one you love, dropped in the middle of a rebellion? I don't know what I would do. And you couldn't leave? Okay, a Michaela Laws production. The epic finale of Seduce Me the Otome. Seduce Me 2, the Demon War. With added sex scenes. I promise that I will never hurt you. I will take care of you for as long as I live. I will spend my entire life loving you. I will make sure you have a happy life. Will you be mine forever? She will never leave this world alive. Or will you? James, Eric, Damien, Matthew, Sam. Ooh, Sam's kind of cute too. Rabbit, Sergeant, Shadow, Faye, Diana, Sayro, fate of your love in the demon world is in your hands. Okay, cool. Exciting. Who will rule? Okay. A sweet lullaby, one you would hear as you were rocked in your mother's arms as a child. I could not help but adore such melodies with every ounce of my being, smiling whenever one would play for me. It was only fitting that I would enjoy my dreams with the sound of one playing in my head. My slumber was calm and peaceful as a sweet tune echoed in the abyss of my subconscious. I didn't know why, but I relished that tune that night. Strange, really, how a melody could calm any storm running through your heart. My storm was my engagement to Eric, my demon soulmate. Yes, he was my soulmate, my prince. At the same time, he was indeed a demon. I adored him with every ounce of my being, and I was about to be married to him in the weeks ahead. I couldn't have been more nervous and excited about the whole ordeal. Still, the lullaby that floated in my dreams kept me calm and at peace. I wondered if the same music could soothe an actual child. A child's laughter broke me from my peace, causing me to slowly open my eyes and awaken from my slumber. My eyes focused on the ceiling as I tried to figure out what that sound was. Was it part of my dream? It was effective enough to wake me up. I rose from the bed, looking around the room in confusion. Why had I heard a child's laugh, and how did it wake me up? It was strange to say the very least. A child's voice? However, before I could contemplate about it further, a slight dip in the bed to my side made me gasp softly in surprise. I looked to my side to see Eric still sound asleep beside me. He looked so peaceful and happy, like he was absorbed in a joyful dream of his own. I couldn't help but smile at the sight before leaning down and kissing his forehead. He shifted slightly, mumbling my name. "What is your name?" "You know my name. It's Jules. I thought you loved me." I giggled softly. He was just too adorable for words. I truly loved him with all my heart. "I love you." Still, despite wanting to stay in bed a little longer with the man of my dreams, the child's laughter ushered me to slowly creep out of bed and leave the room to find where it had come from. Turning on the lights in the lobby, I looked around the main part of the mansion to find out where the laughter had come from. I heard the laughter trail off as if the voice itself was moving and guiding me to where it wanted me to go. I maintained pursuit, not wanting to lose track of it. Any normal person would have been creeped out. I, however, was brave enough to figure out what was going on myself. I was led to my grandfather's office. It was his place of work as well as his sanctuary for his magic study. I knew that he studied magic and had come to accept it during my time with Eric and his brothers. Still, it was something I was curious about. The lights were on, but the laughter seemed to have faded away as I entered the room. Was I not in the right place? As I stepped further into the room, I felt a sense of nostalgia. Despite only ever finding the room after my grandfather's passing, something about this place made me feel warm and happy, like I belonged here. This was where my grandfather imagined his greatest toys and made them come to life. It was here where he studied endlessly about the demon world and demon magic. I felt like I was stepping into a museum of history. Thinking about it, I began to wonder what my grandfather would think if he knew that I was going to marry one of the incubi he had brought into the human world. I knew he had been the one to do it. Damien confessed to me when Eric proposed. It was a bit interesting to think about, how he would have reacted. Would he be proud? Would he be disappointed? I could never know. I was broken out of my thoughts, however, as I heard the click of a lock unlatching echo through the room. I turned my head towards the sound, pinning the origin of it on one of the nearby drawers. Why did it unlock on its own? I was a little nervous as to why it had done that. "Open it!" I was indeed my grandfather's granddaughter. I felt my curiosity take control of my body and guide me to the drawer. Sliding it open, I saw 2 books neatly placed in the drawer, covered with a thin layer of dust. One was obviously my grandfather's magic book, and the other must have been his journal. I lifted both up and examined them, gingerly wiping the dust off of them. I wanted to read a bit more about each of them, but I wasn't sure which one to open first. Grandfather's journal. I decided to look through Grandfather's journal. Maybe he had something he wanted to show me? I wasn't entirely sure why I was doing this in the first place. I opened his journal and scanned my eyes across each page I flipped through. He had so many notes, it was hard to fathom him knowing so much about everything he wrote. He was smart, though, so it wasn't entirely surprising. One section, however, made me stop and read in depth. Demon children. On the page was a badly drawn sketch of a humanoid creature I had to assume was a demon. From the size, it could have been a child. However, I wasn't entirely sure. Apparently, there were multiple demon races, not just incubi and succubi. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of different demon types, and each had their own methods on how they bred to produce children. Demons of Lilith were the most human-like in terms of pregnancy. They bear the child for a set amount of time, and the delivery, paired with magic, was seamless and painless. However, as soon as a demon is born, the parents imbue their child's demon name into their souls. It seemed so confusing at first glance, but as I read further, I became more and more intrigued about demons and their children. Demon mothers, regardless of race, had to bear enough energy for both the mother and the child. This, along with a host of other reasons, were why females were the dominant gender in the abyssal planes. However, if a demon bearing a child didn't have enough energy, her child would absorb the last of it and kill off the mother in an attempt to sustain itself. I swallowed thickly. Was energy that important to demons? How could a child even do that to their mother? They'd die off too. One thing was explicitly mentioned, however. Unlike humans, demons form souls in the womb, making them living beings while still forming in their mother's body. They become sentient as soon as they are conceived. Ooh. It was strange to think about. Demon babies were aware that they were alive before they were born? It was intriguing. The child's laughter reappeared, softly floating through the air and making me turn toward the door. I quickly followed it, leaving the room and returning to the lobby. Is anyone there? As I turned to the stairs, I could hardly believe my eyes. A floating orb, barely the size of my head, was floating down the stairs and toward the back doors. I gripped the railing and stared, not believing what I was seeing. Was this really happening? What was it even? A ghost? A spirit? Some illusion meant to trick me? I couldn't wrap my head around it. Still, it practically called for me to tail behind it. I continued to follow it. It seemed to want me to, anyway. Was this a game? It led me to the backyard, where it simply floated in the air near the gazebo. I stayed by the doorway, unsure of actually stepping out into the house to meet with it. It didn't move, so I could only assume it accepted my hesitation. Hello?
Hi.
The orb gently spun around itself in a circle, almost like a happy child. For some reason, it made me feel really happy seeing it, despite it being a simple floating orb. It seemed friendly enough, so I stepped out into the backyard and slowly made my way towards it. It gently bobbed up and down, as if it was waiting for me to approach. I stopped a couple feet away from it, not wanting to get too close in case it was a trick. Hi there.
Hi. What's your name?
My name? Oh, it's Jules.
Wow, that's a pretty name.
Thank you. Who are you?
Oh, I'm no one. I don't have a name.
You don't have a name?
No. I wasn't able to get one. But that's okay. I'll get one soon.
The orb, whatever it was, had to be the spirit of some child. Human? I didn't know. I wasn't sure. All I knew was how sweet and innocent it sounded. The child's voice was pulling at my heartstrings in all the right ways. The orb twirled around again with a small laugh.
Let's play together.
Oh, what would we play? I almost couldn't believe the words coming out of my mouth. Was I really okay with playing games with a spirit? I mean, it was friendly, yes, but it was a spirit. What was I doing out in the middle of the night with it was another question I let go of and fade away in my head as I stared at the orb. My heart felt fuzzy and warm enough to ignore the doubt niggling at my brain. The orb dipped and spun around my body, making me giggle and try to follow it. As it circled back to where it used to be, it almost bounced in the air happily.
Come on, let's dance.
I began to dance around the orb as it moved gracefully around my form. In my head, a song began to play as I had fun weaving and swaying with the orb. I felt light and happy, even though part of my mind was questioning what I was doing. Why was I doing this? Why was I so accepting of the spirit? My body was moving on its own, but I was enjoying every minute of it. The orb followed along, matching each sway with one of its own. Soft laughter echoed from it once in a while after every couple of steps I took. It seemed to enjoy my company, which in turn somehow made me happy.
Princess?
Eric! Oh, he looks different. The orb gasped and hid behind me as I stopped dancing. I quickly turned to see Eric standing by the doorframe with a confused but tired look on his face. Eric.
What are you doing out here, love?
I blushed, rubbing my hands together behind my back from embarrassment. I must have looked like a fool, dancing in the yard in the middle of the night. I turned my head to look at the orb, but gasped in surprise when I realized that it had disappeared. What? Huh?
What's wrong?
I was beyond lost and confused. What was happening? What had just happened? I turned back to Eric to see him walking towards me. I crossed my arms, realizing how cold the night air was, and smiled meekly at Eric. I just wanted to get some fresh air, that's all.
While dancing by yourself?
I stared at Eric, not sure of what he meant. If he was watching, he would have seen the spirit dancing with me. I'll tell him. You didn't see the orb that was dancing with me?
Huh? Orb?
Eric raised an eyebrow, obviously not understanding what I meant. Did he really not see it? It's true. There was a spirit here that looked like an orb, and I was dancing with it, not by myself. I knew I wasn't making sense. He didn't seem to believe me. Still, I didn't want to lie to him. He was going to be my husband soon, so we had to trust each other. If my reason sounded stupid, fine, but at least it was the truth. Eric finally smiled and reached toward me before petting my head.
Did you have fun then?
Wait, did he really believe me? I wasn't entirely sure if he did, but from the look he gave me, he was willing to accept my answer either way. Eric gently reached out and took one of my hands, placing his other hand on my waist. I looked up at him to see his lips curve into a small, playful smirk.
Would you mind if I dance with you then, princess?
My face turned red at his question, but I smiled and nodded. I liked dancing with him. I tightened my hand over Eric's, straightening up and leaning against his chest, ready to dance. Eric chuckled softly before leading me into a slow but elegant waltz around the backyard. I felt like I needed to thank the spirit later for giving me yet another wonderful memory with Eric. He led me around the backyard as if we were at a real ball. The moon served as a brilliant crystal chandelier, and the wind became our music. Eventually, however, we had to go back inside. The night was cold, and it was very late. I didn't want the night to end, though. Watching Eric as we walked up the stairs to the bedroom, my heart began to flutter even more, and a soft heat began to burn in my core. He was not only charming, but he was handsome, and definitely knew what buttons to press to make me feel amazing. I'm gonna save, just in case. Okay. It didn't matter that he was an incubus. I really had fallen in love with him and was both romantically and sexually attracted to him. Though, did I really want to pursue my desires right now? We did just stop dancing. I'm gonna go for it, and if I need to cut it, I will cut it. The burning in my core wasn't just going to go away. As Eric and I approached our room, I quickly pulled his arm and turned him around to face me.
What?
Before he could finish his sentence, I jumped up and wrapped my arms and legs around him, kissing him deeply. Instinctively, he circled his arms around me to support me, but he stared in shock at my eagerness. Within seconds, he melted into the kiss and panted against my lips, making me moan in reply at the sound. He tightened his grip around me as he walked backwards towards the bed. When his legs hit the side of the mattress, he sat down and allowed his hands to roam my back. I think I might be skipping this. I pulled away from the kiss ever so slowly, enjoying every moment that I was still connected to his lips before letting out a small sigh. I was pretty sure I had made myself clear, but I gave him a softly spoken demand. I don't want to go to bed yet. Eric stared up at me before licking his lips and slowly running his hands under my shirt and up my back. Tingles shot up my spine as his fingers ran over my bare skin, a shuddering moan escaping my lips.
As my princess commands.
Oh, God. I felt Eric gently lift my shirt up, and I lifted my arms for him to fully move it from my body before he tossed it to the side. The cool air hitting my skin made me shudder as Eric pulled me back in for another heated kiss. As soon as it gets bad, I'm skipping it, just so you know. It's not bad yet. Damn his hands for memorizing my body. He knew what spots to caress, making me Okay.
Good night, my princess. I love you.
I love you too, Eric. That was something, alright. Okay. I could only close my eyes and relish the warmth Eric gave me as I let my mind escape into dreamland. To my surprise, the child didn't return. I was a bit saddened, but I didn't let my thoughts linger on it any longer. I had a peaceful dream with Eric wrapped around me all through the remainder of the night. As the morning came, however, the other incubi essentially kidnapped their brother. Despite my minor protest, knowing that we had work to do on the wedding, the brothers were relentless.
We're just stealing him for a bit. We'll return him later.
Oh, they look a little different, don't they? Yeah, okay. I mean, Sam's pretty stinking cute, but I definitely am happy with Eric. But we have to...
Everything will be alright. You can finish working on your dress while we keep him out of the house.
I mean, yeah, but...
You could survive a day without your love slave. You're marrying him, after all. It's not like he'll be gone forever.
Your love slave?
Everything will be all right, princess, I promise. As soon as we're done with whatever they want to do, then I'll come straight home.
Okay, I love you. I could barely make him out saying I love you too as he was dragged away by his brothers. As the front door closed, I could hear Eric being thrown over someone's shoulder. Probably Sam's. I sighed before looking around the mansion. Since I was indeed alone, I had the chance to try and find that spirit again. Why did it run away the first time? I quickly rushed to the backyard, looking around it. It was much brighter, yes, but perhaps the spirit was still there? Despite not being able to find it, I scoured the entire mansion in hopes of meeting the orb again. It almost became a game of hide and seek, only I didn't know if the orb was hiding or was gone. After a straight hour of looking around, I gave up. The orb was nowhere to be found, and I was certain I wouldn't meet it again. I could only let out a sigh at the thought, but I shook my head to forget about it at last. It had given me a moment with my love, so I was grateful. I went back into my room and flopped onto my bed, not really sure what to do. I could have organized what I was going to wear with my dress, but I really didn't want to pull my dress out of the garment bag it was in. Staring at the ceiling, I felt my eyelids slowly getting heavy, and soon I was letting my sudden drowsiness take hold of me. What was happening? Why did I feel like sleeping? It was close to noon. Or was it past noon? I somehow couldn't remember anymore. I allowed myself to fall asleep, blaming the search and the wedding stress that lingered in my mind for tiring me out. My body floated in the darkness, met once again by a soft and peaceful lullaby. This nap was perfect, and I definitely deserved it. My body felt comfortable, and my thoughts were lulled into a quiet hum that accompanied the lullaby in the air. The only thing that would have made it better was Eric. As if my dream wanted to please me, an image of Eric appeared in my mind. He smiled his heart-pearling smirk at me, and I felt myself become warm and fuzzy just from his gaze. As he floated over to me, I became entranced in his eyes. My voice wouldn't come out, despite wanting to say his name, but I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him close to me. He leaned into my embrace, ghosting his lips over mine teasingly. Was Dream Eric trying to seduce me in my own dreams? They said the title. Seduce me. They said the title. I pressed forward, wanting to kiss him. We both didn't make a sound, but let our kiss relay our love for each other between our lips. My heart pounded to my chest as he wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me even closer to him. It was strange. He felt so real in my arms. I combed my fingers through his hair, feeling the pink copper strands on top of his head. Yet this was a dream. I knew it was a dream. His arms gently ran along my back and waist, not daring to go below it, but making wonderful shivers run up and down my spine with each stroke. I really liked this dream and tightened my hold on Eric, letting him know that I enjoyed his touch. Eric eventually pulled away from the kiss and smiled down at me, running a hand over my hair and caressing my cheek. I stared up at him lovingly, feeling a soft swell on my lips from the kiss we had shared. What I didn't expect was him slowly leaning down and planting a soft kiss over my chest, just over where my heart was. I stared, unsure of why he did such a thing. As my heart began to feel warm and lighter, I let a silent sigh out of my throat, feeling the pleasure of its sensation. Eric slowly backed away and disappeared, but I continued to feel the warmth over my heart sweetly emanate through my veins like a slow adrenaline rush. What was happening to me? Tingles ran across every nerve in my body, making me shiver in delight. Whatever this was, I liked it. Soon, the warmth lulled me into a peaceful hum, and I curled into myself, wrapping my arms around my body from the comfort it brought. I felt at peace, while my body felt like it was embracing the warmth enveloping it. It was strange, but I accepted the restful feeling. Okay. I knew that was coming. What? Gah! Oh, jeez. From the darkness, dark laughter invaded the air, breaking the lullaby and making a sudden cold feeling wash over my skin. Before I could react, however, a large and deep pain invaded my chest, almost like a sword stabbing all the way through my body. I could not see anything of the sword as I looked down at my chest, but my hands tightened over where the pain had erupted from. What was happening? I coughed, feeling blood splash out of my mouth and drip down my lips. I gasped for air, disgusted at the coppery taste of my mouth, but I was unable to break out of the illusion. I needed to wake up. The stabbing pain ripped through my insides as if the invisible blade in my chest unsheathed itself from my torso. I felt a second stab through my stomach, more blood gushing from my mouth. Someone help me! I felt my body slowly start to shut down. Was I dying in my own dream? Why couldn't I wake up? Cold waves ran through my nerves, numbing my body as if I was indeed slowly dying. As blood dripped from my chin, I felt lightheaded in the darkness. But an almost violent shake broke me from my dream, forcing me to physically open my eyes.
Princess!
I gasped for air, no longer able to taste blood or feel pain. I was back in my room, staring at Eric's concerned face as he held my shoulders. I shuddered from the experience, unable to forget the feeling of being stabbed in my own dream. Eric, however, had saved me.
Love, what happened? You were thrashing around and...
I didn't let him finish. I grabbed Eric's body and slammed myself into his chest, happy to no longer be trapped in the dream, and thankful that he woke me from it. Eric wrapped his arms around me and gently rubbed my back, soothing me as I began to cry into his shoulder.
Did you have a nightmare?
Yeah, it was terrible. I was being attacked by something in the darkness. I couldn't do anything about it.
Shh. It's okay now. You're safe. I'm right here.
I could only nod as Eric rocked me back and forth, comforting me. It may have been a dream, but I was still mortified by it. It seemed almost too real to be just a dream. I didn't want to think about it anymore. I didn't want to remember the dream, especially how horrible it was. I was supposed to be getting mentally ready for my wedding, not having nightmares about dying. Eric kissed over my head and face, trying to soothe my sadness. He wiped away my tears and continued to hold me close until I was calm and relaxed. I tried to reassure myself that it was a dream. It was just a stupid dream. Just a nightmare. Eric pulled away from me, not releasing me from his arms, and looked down at me with a soft frown.
I'm sorry that I left. I should have been here, making sure that you had good dreams.
No offense, but I don't think you can make sure that I have good dreams. I shook my head. Eric needed to spend time with his brothers. It was important enough to him that he let himself be dragged away by them. No, it's all right. I'll be fine.
Are you sure, Princess?
Yeah, I'm sure. I had to shake this off. I didn't know what was going on, but now Eric was here and could be with me in case anything else happened. After I had finally calmed down, Eric told me about what the boys had done. They took Eric to a cafe deep in downtown Chicago, just wanting to have a brother-to-brothers talk with him. I was happy he got to spend time with them, but Eric had practically rushed home to return to me. The dream did not appear again that night. Oh, I guess he can. Eric used his powers to enter my dreams and kept me safe from anything that tried to hurt me, and thankfully nothing did. However, there was a strange feeling in my gut that didn't sit right with me. For some reason, Eric's comfort didn't make me feel okay. It was as if I didn't want him to be in my dreams. My heart knew that this was a problem, but I was unsure of how to respond to this new feeling. Slowly, as the days passed by and our wedding approached, the feeling became more aggressive. Soon, I was becoming irritated more easily. I became angry at the smallest things, the steps he took, the things he'd wear, the looks he gave me, or what I assumed he gave me. No, Eric, I don't want to do anything right now.
Love, I didn't say any.
You're looking at me with those sex eyes again.
Sex eyes? I swear, I wasn't doing anything of the sort.
Why am I being so mean to him? You're doing it now. I couldn't control the words that were flying out of my mouth. Something was wrong, but I continued to speak cruelly towards Eric. My heart was at odds with my mind, and I didn't know why I was doing it, but I continued my barrage.
Love, what is going on?
I don't know. What's going on? You are what's...
I'm sorry.
I felt Eric's enthrallment take over my body, forcing me to go weak in the knees and mule out in surprise. My mind stopped thinking about attacking Eric, and my heart felt entirely relieved that the urge was gone. Eric gently wrapped his arms around me, being sure to keep his arms around my shoulders, and rocked with me, trying to calm me down.
Love, are you having doubts?
No, I'm not. I don't know what
You swear you're not having doubts about us?
I promise. I was unable to speak the truth under his spell. It was strange. It was like I was under a curse when I wasn't under his enthrallment, somehow despising every little thing Eric did. Yet I knew it wasn't true. I loved everything about him, but my mind wouldn't agree. I gripped Eric's shirt, wanting to stay close and show my true feelings for him.
Listen to me, okay? I love you so much. If you have any doubts on us getting married, then please just tell me. I don't know what's going on in your beautiful head.
I love you too. I really, really do. I don't know what's happening to me. It made no sense. Why did I despise Eric, yet love him? My mind, heart, and body were at odds with each other, and I wasn't sure what to do. This went on all the way until our wedding day. Somehow, Eric managed to deal with me the entire time, enthralling me when things became rough to keep me calm. The other incubi tried to decipher what was going on with me, but none of them could figure it out. I was going to marry Eric, and then I was going to figure out what was wrong with me. I knew I still loved him with every inch of my heart, mind, body, and soul, and so feeling disdain like this was not natural for me. I had asked Eric to place me under enthrallment for our wedding, in case I lashed out again. He reluctantly agreed and stayed with me the morning of our wedding day. I was supposed to dress alone and be by myself, but I needed Eric to keep me in check. I felt ridiculously warm and fuzzy as I stood in the bathroom, having come out of a hot shower with Eric. We didn't do anything together, but he remained close, enough to keep me enthralled and remain energized enough to maintain the enthrallment. Eric gently ran my brush through the strands of my hair, being as sweet and caring as he always was towards me. Because of the enthrallment, I felt each stroke and derived so much pleasure from his brushing. It was hard not to moan.
Well, love, today's the big day.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
I truly hope so. I'm the happiest man alive to be able to soon call you my wife.
I want to be your wife. I want you to be my husband. I felt like crying. Why did I have to be enthralled to say such things? I really loved him, but somehow I couldn't bring myself to say it without casting his spell over me. Eric looked at me through the bathroom mirror and gently smiled, believing me and placing a small kiss on my cheek.
By the way, are you using a new soap?
Oh, that's a cute picture. Huh? I looked at Eric, unsure of what he meant. I'd used the same soap I always used, so my scent shouldn't have been any different. Eric tilted his head and gently inhaled again before smiling a little wider.
You smell different. I kind of like it.
I blushed not because of the enthrallment, but because I didn't know I had a different smell. Was something that off about me? It couldn't have been that drastic, right? Oh my god! What if I'm pregnant? I just realized. Eric finished brushing my hair and smiled, kissing my head.
All right. Time for you to get into your dress. I'm afraid that I can't join in dressing you as much as I want to. Can't see the bride in her gown before the wedding. I also have to get to the ceremony venue to get my tuxedo. However, my enthrallment should stay on you until you arrive.
I like his purple eyes. I like purple eyes. I tried to fight back, but Eric held up his finger.
No. I promise that everything will be okay. As soon as I see you, I'll enthrall you again, and we can go through the ceremony as planned. Okay?
As much as I wanted to fight it, I was thankful that Eric was willing to go through all of this to make sure I wouldn't throw a fit, despite me not wanting to in the first place. I agreed and earned a small kiss from him, which I relished.
All right. I love you. I'll see you soon.
I nodded, smiling back at him before he slipped on his regular clothes and left the mansion. I felt the enthrallment on me ebb and flow through my body, so I needed to hurry and get ready before it wore off. I got dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams and smiled as I prepared my hair and jewelry. I really did look like the perfect bride, ready for her big day. Why I was acting out against it, I would never know, but I was going to fix this after I was saying I do. As I stared at myself, I could see a small glow about my body. Was it Eric's spell? I giggled, wrapping my arms around myself and enjoying the feel his spell had on me.
I knew it! I knew it! That girl has demon magic.
What the?
Then quit talking and let's take her! The demon lord will be so pleased.
Uh-oh. Who? Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet, and I looked down and lifted my dress. 2 pairs of evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles, reaching through a dark red and purple pentagram. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but couldn't stop them as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I couldn't escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt a surface under my feet, and I collapsed onto it, my body curling in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing in my chest. Oh. I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognize. They all looked down at me in surprise, as if I had dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game, without the tusks. He had broken horns and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other male was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could almost feel power emanating from him regardless. One of the women was staring at me, had rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. The one creature I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back, and they were floating. The last woman, however, set off alarm bells in my head as I looked at her surprised face. Her hair, her eyes. Diana? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Diana walked toward me and stared me down. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form as it towered over me. It was more in shock as to what was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure quickly stepped up and bowed to her, kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You? So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes up at her. As she turned her gaze back to me, I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live my happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instinct was to cry. This wasn't happening. This couldn't have been happening. No way. I felt tears build up in my eyes as I lowered them to look at the floor in front of me. As my gaze fell, my lungs began to seize hard, forcing me to hiccup in sadness. I couldn't help it. I began to cry profusely. Why was this happening? Why was I here? If this was another nightmare, I wanted to wake up immediately. This wasn't right. Okay. Checking on my dog. I covered my face and cried into my hands, curling over myself as I let sadness run through my entire body. Please let me wake up. Please. As I felt warmth suddenly spread through my body, I slowly stopped and felt fresh air rush into my lungs. What was happening? I recognized this warmth. I looked up to see Diana kneeling down with a very concerned look on her face, her visible eye glowing with a warm gold color as she stared at me. Was she enthralling me? I didn't feel aroused like I usually felt whenever I was enthralled, but I felt calm and almost mellow.
Calm down.
Diana's voice seemed almost soothing, like a lullaby. However, I wasn't sleepy. I just felt quiet. The worry I had in my mind was gone. The sadness, gone. Diana must have done something to make sure I wouldn't cry. I didn't know whether to thank her or be afraid.
Now, can you tell me what happened? Take your time and try to remember everything.
Succubus, we have no time for...
Shh! Let her do her thing! The human obviously knows her, and she obviously needs help. Poor thing.
Why did she call her Diana, though?
That must have been the human name she used while she was in the human world. Smart.
All of you, please!
Silence engulfed the room as Diana looked at the four beings behind her. She then turned back to me and held out her hand, ushering me to take it.
Can you stand?
I nodded and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened. I was about to go into the church to be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness. A couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning.
Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky male, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human, nor do we know who this woman is anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died?
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realized how vulnerable I was and felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana let out a sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You'll really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and beings within it.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
Is that not obvious? My mind went blank. It couldn't be. I couldn't be in the demon world. No way. No way in hell. I thought that was pretty obvious that I got pulled into the demon world. I felt myself back up against a wall behind me, suddenly afraid. I was in another world? How? That was impossible. Diana stepped towards me, both of her hands softly trying to show me she meant no harm as she positioned them in front of her body.
Do not panic. We will send you back now, so there's nothing to worry about.
How will you power the spell? Bringing someone here is no easy task, but sending someone back consumes much more energy.
I'll use what energy I have now and rest. We can organize the siege another time when I fully recover. It's not like the Demon Lord can escape the corner we've trapped him in, so we do have some time to spare.
You'd waste time and energy on this human. We must strike now while the Demon Lord is weakened.
But the human doesn't belong here. She needs to go home.
Shall I prepare the return spell?
Do. I grant you permission to use my energy to power the spell.
Well, thanks, Diana. With a nod, the lanky man held out his hand towards the wall. I looked over in the direction it was aimed at. Diana's shadow? I watched as Diana's shadow simply stood against the wall, mirroring the movements of the real succubus in the room. Before my eyes, the shadow began to morph and expand on the wall on its own. I looked back to see Diana, to see her wrapping her arms around herself and curling her shoulders over, as if she was in pain. Her nails embedded themselves into her forearms, and I could barely make out a painful hiss escaping her clenched teeth. Was the spell hurting her that badly? I turned back to the wall to see Diana's shadow shaking and vibrating, as if it was resisting the change the man was forcing on it.
You will obey my command. Open the gates to the void, and allow passage to the world we seek.
Transitum per renan peto tranibris. Ubi aperiut. Ianoium. Decidirum.
Jeez. Upon Diana's final word, her shadow burst and expanded into an oval-shaped doorway. I stared wide-eyed at the passage before a hand placed itself on my shoulder, forcing me to look over. The one with the spear gently pressed my shoulder forward and looked down at me with almost a stern face.
You must leave now. The faster you leave, the quicker we can close the void.
Go! Go! Go get married!
I quickly nodded and lifted the bottom of my dress, stepping forward to make a run for the passageway. However, before I could bolt towards my freedom, a snarl echoed throughout the room.
How dare you interfere with my summoning!
Oh. At that very moment, Diana began to scream, arching her spine and throwing her head back. Around her body were red-tinted bolts of lightning, flashing and shocking her form.
No! Human! Use the passage! Now!
He didn't have to tell me twice. I bolted towards the portal, diving towards it as I neared it, but I was forced back by a burst of energy and a flash of red light. I fell to the floor, almost slamming my head onto the stone.
A human will never, ever leave this world alive! You spineless worm!
Close the portal! The Demon Lord might get through!
But the human...
Close it!
As commanded, the man pulled his hand back, visually forcing his arm back behind his body, and Diana's shadow quickly began to morph back into a simple shadow. The electricity around Diana faded away, and she began to tip forward. The man with the spear dropped his weapon and caught Diana in his arms. What are you doing? Sorry, my dog. Cradling her to his body as she panted and gasped for air.
I don't sense the Demon Lord anywhere.
The worm has to scurry through the shadows to try and fight back. He'll be dead soon enough.
How is she, guard?
Diana seemed to look uninjured, but her body was twitching from the aftermath of the magical attack. Her visible eye was shut tight as she dug her fingers into the guard's jacket to cling to him. As her eye opened, I saw not a blood ruby red color, but I saw a cold and unfriendly golden color painted over her iris. Her mouth opened as she panted for air, and I could see hunger in her facial expression, but she continued to stare at the wall, not wanting to make eye contact with anyone.
There are no physical wounds, but she's been weakened. I must give her my energy so she can recover.
The man swiftly moved and hooked an arm underneath Diana's knees, lifting her up bridal style as she clung to his jacket, shivering. The spear that had fallen to the floor faded into black and purple mist as he quickly left the room with her in his arms. My mind, however, began to panic. I couldn't go home? Why was I being forced to stay? Damn the Demon Lord. This wasn't right.
There's an imp in the castle. That is the only way the Demon Lord could have been able to interfere.
You! Guards by the door! Hunt it down!
A pair of guards that were apparently by the door saluted the one commanding them and ran off. I fell out of place, alone, terrified as to what was going to happen. The Demon Lord wanted me here, and his words pounded at my mind. How was I going to get home? Would I ever be able to go home?
Hey.
I looked up to see the winged person hovering near me before they moved and sat on their knees on the stone ground beside me.
We'll get you home, okay? Diana just needs a little rest, okay?
She needs more than rest. She needs to use a different spell to send her back. The Demon Lord will expect her to use the shadow spell again.
How about the normal way? I'm sure we can connect to a witch, or even the warlock she used before, to reopen a portal to the human world.
The warlock she used to get to the human world died, remember? And he was the most powerful warlock in the human world, practically a god himself. What other human could be used to open a portal without another human dying?
It was merely a suggestion. The faster we get this human home, the faster we can move on and finish off the Demon Lord.
Well, what are we going to do with the human now?
We can give her a room to rest in. Humans need sleep after all. Maybe by the time she wakes up, we'll think of a solution.
Come.
The woman with rabbit ears looked down at me and lowered her hand to me, inviting me to take it. She had a kind but concerned expression on her face, so I trusted her. I slowly took her hand and began to stand up as the fairy figure brushed off the small patches of dust that had accumulated on my dress. I couldn't do anything. I was forced to listen to the beings around me because there was nothing else I could do. Without them, I couldn't get home. My heart ached, but I had to accept my predicament.
Here, I'll bring you to the open ambassador's room. You are free to rest there for now.
Okay. I was led out of the room and into the hall. Okay. I'm going to... Hold on. I kept my eyes down, trying to take in more of the situation I was in. I was trapped in the demon world, and Diana was out of commission. The Demon Lord had plans for me, but what exactly was he aiming for? I could have been bait. I could have been revenge. I didn't know, nor could I figure it out now. At least I was safe. At least, I hoped I was safe. Okay, I'm gonna save here. Save here. This is crazy. This is so much more action-packed than the last one. My god. I hope I get back to Eric. I'm nervous, but I'm supposed to be married. What's going on? I hope you had fun, and I had fun too, and I will see you later.